Hi, ever wondered how to create a Psytrance riser? If you have, stick around, this video is for you. Covering the technique from our latest blog article, we will show you how to create a really interesting Psytrance riser. Before we dive into the tutorial, please like, subscribe, and click that notification bell. Psytrance is a subgenre of popular electronic music that is known for its complex structure and high energy. Music producers of this type of music are dedicating a lot of time to details in audio processing. One of the inevitable elements in the arrangements of Psytrance is definitely a riser. Let's start this off by first listening to the sequence that we have created in SoundBridge. This sequence features a majority of full mix elements, including a breakdown going into a drop. As you can hear from this example, this break can really benefit from an obvious riser so that the drop hits harder. Now, one method would be to search for some riser sounds in various sample banks, but we will not do that. We'll create our riser from scratch. We are going to do that by using Vital Soft Synth by Vital Audio and create a new MIDI track for it in SoundBridge. In this specific example, we'll use the kick drum from our track and turn it into a riser using Vital's built-in sampler. The first step would be to create a copy of our existing kick drum sequence and speed it up. We want to play this kick drum twice more often than in the original sequence. After that, I'll merge this sequence, bounce it as a new block, activate the sampler, and then drag and drop that audio onto the Vital's sampler waveform area. I will deactivate the oscillator 1. Once that is done, we can return to the track's breakdown and write a long single note in the riser's MIDI editor, which will determine how long the effect lasts. In this example, we'll have our riser, or this note, start halfway through the breakdown and last all the way until the drop. I will write a note C1. Let's move the level of the sampler all the way to the maximum. After completing that, we can proceed to programming Vital. In this case, we will not use any other oscillators but the sampler. To make sure that our pattern loops consistently each time it's triggered, we will first take care of the amp envelope with the sustain parameter all the way up. Additionally, the attack and release are set to practically 0. Next, we'll use LFO1 and create a fade-in curve and adjust its tempo to be 16:1, also pulling the smooth to 0. This will closely match the length of the riser we wish to produce prior to the drop. Now, let's set up all of this modulation. We will modulate the sampler's pitch using the LFO we just set up. To do so, simply drag and drop this field onto the sampler's pitch parameter. By adjusting this little green wheel, we adjust how much the LFO is going to affect the sampler's pitch parameter. In this case, we'll choose the maximum value of 96. As you can hear, our riser FX is taking the desired shape, but it still sounds raw. With this in mind, we need to use some effects to process it. Let's get to the Vitals effect page and start with the EQ. You probably noticed as the pitch increases on the riser effect that the high frequencies become really harsh. To fix this, we can right-click on the LFO1, copy it, and then right-click and paste it onto the LFO2, which we will use to modulate the attenuation of the EQ's high frequency band. Let's quickly set up our high band for the EQ, and we'll keep the gain at 12 o'clock, we'll keep the cutoff at 12 o'clock as well, and we'll push the resonance all the way to 0. The modulation routing is the same as we did just before. You just drag and drop the LFO tool onto the gain of the high shelf EQ. By using this little green wheel, you can set the amount of modulation to be -16. After the EQ, we'll use a flanger to add more movement to our riser effect. First, we'll set the tempo to 32:1, we'll drag the offset all the way down, let's drag the feedback up to about 75%, and we'll set the mix to 0. The flanger settings in this case include a relatively high feedback because we want to make it really noticeable. And we will use the LFO2 to modulate the flanger's mix parameter so that it gradually increases its volume over the duration of the riser. Finally, let's add a reverb with the LFO2 modulating its high cut and mix parameters. We'll increase the time parameter to about 4.3 seconds. We can set the mix parameter down to 0, and we'll set the high cut parameter all the way to 0 too. Now also let's make sure that this LFO is affecting the mix parameter by 0.6, and the effect of LFO2 onto the high cut is a maximum value. After adjusting the volume of our newly created riser FX, let's hear what it sounds like with all the other elements in the mix.